Our final speaker today is Dr. Alphonse Crespo, who's an orthopedic surgeon who's a longtime friend, of course, of AAPS. He's the author of numerous essays and articles such as Medicine Deregulated or Dead, Black Market Medicine, an Ethical Alternative to State Control, Outlawing Medicine, or The End of Welfare and Its Effect on the Poor. His writings advocate a libertarian approach to medical ethics and a full return to medicine to the free market. I think it's fair to say, since he's traveled all the way from Switzerland, that he is a physician who has really gone the extra mile in promoting freedom of choice in the ethical practice of private medicine. Please welcome Dr. Alphonse Crespo.
Okay, I feel kind of out of place here because as every time I come to AAPS meetings, it's so unusual for me to be surrounded with people that I can fully agree with and to hear things that I can also fully agree with, to the point that I sometimes feel is my critical sense being lost. I'm known to be a very critical spirit, and here I find nothing to criticize. So it's very weird for me to be here. I also find it very challenging to listen to the speeches that I've listened to today, to see, I mean, I have people, friends who think like me. I think like you. I have friends who speak out, like I speak out, but very few people, and I'm not sure I'm one of them, actually do what they say they want to do, and actually do what it takes to actually regain your professional autonomy, as I've seen today so many examples. And that is very inspiring and very challenging for me. Another big challenge is that it's 2 a.m. in Switzerland just now. So I'm counting on George Watson, who has a good whistle, to whistle if I go to sleep before you do. Is he here, by the way? Good. So if you see me fall asleep, just whistle hard. Okay. So the thing is that you're confronted with that. I am even more so probably in Switzerland, is that we are fighting a cause for physician autonomy, for quality medicine, and we find that we are surrounded by fellow doctors, not here but elsewhere, that somehow don't follow your line of thinking, who are ready to accept whatever government proposes, and who are not really willing to fight. They're often passive, submissive, and very much reluctant to defend the idea that their profession is actually a business, and to defend free market ideas. They also delegate the defense of the interests of their profession and of their patients to their medical associations. We have our brand of AMA. It's called the FMH. The president of the AMA, or FMH, has been president for 5 or 6 years, doing all kinds of terrible things in my eyes. And he just, a couple of months ago, joined the Socialist Party. He was elected as a non-political position, and now he's a fully fledged member of the Swiss Socialist Party. So just, those are the kind of people that we entrust our defense to. And I think doctors are rather naive. And they are beginning to realize that their profession, their autonomy is, at least in Switzerland, is very much diminishing, and that their ability to do their best is really becoming undermined by healthcare policies. But they often fail to identify the real causes. In Switzerland, the real cause happened 15 years ago when we introduced mandatory health insurance, which you're going to learn all about in the next few years. You're going to find out what it is. it was a turning point in the decline of Swiss doctor autonomy. It gave, above other things, extraordinary powers to third-party payers. So I've been looking at ways to speak out to my fellow doctors and compare. One of the tools that I'm exploring now, that's what I'm going to talk to you about, is to try and compare the effects of third-party interference in Switzerland with that of other countries, and how third parties interfere with the doctor-patient relationship, with clinical autonomy, with therapeutic liberty, in countries with healthcare systems that have a sort of heavy-handed third-party involvement, and countries which have a lighter-handed third-party involvement, which the United States was an example until Obamacare, of course. I've been exploring New Europe, which is very, very promising. I'm not going to talk to you about it, what I've discovered in New Europe, but I've been involved in projects especially in Georgia, that has gone to the bottom of what socialized medicine is, and has recently, about 2 or 3 years ago, privatized all their healthcare system in one clean sweep, and it's extraordinary to see what this is producing. But people in Switzerland don't look at what's happening in Georgia, unfortunately. I've also started looking at Singapore. Singapore, as you know, has the Singapore healthcare system is mainly based on health savings accounts and high deductible insurance, a combination of both, though they are a fairly regulated health saving account system, but yet they offer something that few countries do at this point of the history of healthcare. So looking at these things, I thought that, well, I'm going to try and promote Singapore healthcare in Switzerland, and maybe find out what's going to happen in the United States. Now the third parties are going to bulge in just like they did in our country a few years ago. And a friend of mine said, well, you know, your ideas are quite right. You're right to fight for them, but you need numbers. You need numbers because numbers are important. And and the press loves numbers. So what you have to do is do a big survey on professional autonomy in Singapore, compare it to the United States and Switzerland and Germany, which have different levels of third-party involvement. And the challenge was that I wanted to have a US survey before actually Obamacare was implemented. And the idea started about 2 or 3, not more than 4 months ago. We started exploring the project, which means that we really had to go fast to get the data from US doctors before they were too much involved into Obamacare. So we contracted a professional survey firm that has offices in New York, in Germany, and in Beijing to conduct the study. The idea was to analyze the perceptions of doctors on their ability to accomplish their mission under different institutional healthcare environments in these countries. The timing was also important insofar as that, as I mentioned, when we decided to do this, Obamacare had just been voted upon, so we needed to have some sufficient American data to be able to compare, do the study again in about 4 or 5 years' time and see what the perceptions of doctors are after 4 or 5 years of Obamacare. I'm not sure we're going to do this study because I think you're going to win the battle of turning down Obamacare. So at least I hope. So the study basically will involve, we've started interviewing 1,000 physicians online, both general practitioners and specialists in the 4 different countries. We started in August and September, and the study is by no means complete, so what I'm going to give you now is really a draft or really very preliminary and partial results. In fact, the results I'm going to mention found their way to my iPhone the night before yesterday when I landed here in Salt Lake City. And the firm said, well, this is what we have so far. And I had even trouble reading them because you know what reading statistics on an iPhone sound like. So I beg your indulgence if I don't give you a very comprehensive and full analysis of the preliminary results. I did not have time to set up a teleprompter, or 2 or 3 teleprompters apparently, so you must excuse me for that. But so far we've, the survey firm has interviewed 250 United States physicians, which is quite a feat in a period of a month and a half. 120 in Singapore. They have not started the German and Swiss segment yet. That's going to be starting at the beginning of October. But I can share with you some of the preliminary indications that we have gotten through this study, this very first numbers. They certainly, in my mind, instinctively, do not reflect the full picture of and will not necessarily give us an idea of the results once the full study comes out, but they do give us an indication, something like I could compare to the New Hampshire vote, you know, you have in your country, and the results of the presidential vote in New Hampshire give you an indication, but don't necessarily tell you who's going to be president. So we're still in New Hampshire with this study. Unexpectedly, in my mind, the feedback I got from the firm is, hey, you know, 62% of U.S. doctors are satisfied with the quality of the overall quality of the healthcare they're providing to their patients, which was in a way that wasn't really a surprise. But what surprised me, that only 32% of Singapore doctors are satisfied with the healthcare system, the healthcare they're providing for their patients, which was a bit of a surprise for me, and I need to look at the numbers a little more once we have the full study, and I'm not sure that this will hold all the way. And one of the ideas is that if we do have 60% of U.S. doctors happy with their system, this is just before Obamacare. So we'll be able to, hopefully, to compare if 62% of U.S. physicians still think they're providing the best possible care to their patients after 3 or 4 years of implementation of this terrible reform. There were some contradictions in the initial numbers that I received, insofar as that even though 62% are supposedly happy with the health care they're providing, only 6% of U.S. doctors are happy or extremely happy with the amount of paperwork they have to do. So that means a lot of them are unhappy about too much paperwork. Only 11% of them are satisfied or very satisfied with the time that they require to obtain approval or authorization for medicine or treatment. So that's not a very high satisfaction rate. And only 25% of the surveyed physicians are satisfied with their general freedom to choose therapies. Only 25%, that's 1 out of 4, whereas in Singapore it's more like 1 out of 2 who are happy with their freedom of choice in therapies with respect to existing third parties. On the other hand, I'm just going to give you a few more numbers. Don't worry, there won't be too many of them, of these percentages. But one encouraging first data is that 100% of surveyed U.S. docs considered that professional autonomy was very important for them. So that's, everyone surveyed said, I think professional autonomy is essential to my work. And 96% of Singapore docs said the same thing. So that's one thing that both in 2 very different places, you have the same need for professional autonomy and expression that it is very important for good patient care. 96% of U.S. doctors in our preliminary numbers consider that health coverage plans and insurance tend to focus on cost containment and not on allowing to treat patients as individuals, which is obvious to all of us. But it seems to be obvious also to the 250 US docs that were surveyed. Also, only 11% think that their professional associations are effective in defending professional autonomy, which also is something that we all know. And 85% do believe that physicians should be more active in politics. I have often argued that for a century or two, our patients were being killed by bacteria, by cancer, by all kinds of things that we needed to know about and treat. And now many are being suffering and are actually being threatened or being killed by poor healthcare policies. So doctors have to start looking at as a new pathology and study economics and healthcare policy as part of pathology and be able to identify what will make it easier to treat patients and what will actually hurt or kill patients. So that's important to see that doctors are beginning to realize that it's not enough just to know about how the Koch bacillus works or how cancer cell multiplies, but they also have to know how some other lethal beings think and work in congresses and other political assemblies. Not to mention the poor knowledge doctors have of market economics, at least in Switzerland, which means that they will buy whatever the government sells them. They don't realize how important free market is for their profession. We will have completed this survey by the end of October and hope to have a full analysis of results by the end of the year. This will give us, for one, that's one thing, now that I'm getting the first results, my objective of what I'm going to do with the results has changed, but it will give me an indication of where doctors, at least in Switzerland, here in the US, tend to stand today. I suspect we will be facing numbers that show us that the enemy is still within the profession. It will also give us a good stock of analytical ammunition in the battle of ideas that we're waging. Numbers are this type of ammunition to be able to quote percentages and numbers in a study. It's useful. I'm not sure it's essential, however. In the battle of numbers are indeed important for maybe journalists, but I strongly believe that in the battle of ideas, numbers are important only up to a point. In fact, to talk of numbers in from another angle, it takes very small numbers of dedicated individuals that have truth and reason working for them to change history. It takes very few of them. The people, I suspect that the people who started the Tea Party movement, not this one, but the one in the 18th century, there weren't that many of them, and 5 or 4, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 people around a table, and they were able to change your history. It took a handful of dissidents, Solzhenitsyn, Sakharov, Václav Havel in Czechoslovakia, to overthrow the Soviet empire. That 20 years of Cold War was inefficient to do that, but a few dissidents who kept the flame alive were able to tear down the Berlin Wall. It wasn't bombs that tore it down, it was Solzhenitsyn, Sakharov, and Václav Havel in a way. So a few numbers of people can change the world. It took a few thinkers from the Institute of Economic Affairs in London to talk Margaret Thatcher into letting free markets into wide aspects of the British post-war socialist economy. I met Mrs. Thatcher last week, and thanked her for that. And I said, I love you for that. And she really grinned, and she loved me for saying that. I was very pleased. Things were more difficult for her and are more difficult for us in healthcare. For one basic reason is that healthcare tends to be a very emotional issue, as everybody knows. And emotional issues offer fertile ground to crybaby rhetoric and to demagogues. The other point about healthcare that makes it difficult is that when people need it, usually they're ill, and when they're ill, they seldom are able to make their voice heard in public debate. They have physiological battles to fight that usually consume most of or all of their energy. So they're not a constituency that politicians really sincerely look at as something that is worth defending. They know that if you're terminally ill, you're not going to vote at the next election. However, I believe that in healthcare too, small numbers of dedicated people can make a difference. What I heard from Andrew Shafley and Jane Orient, they're probably going to make a difference in Obamacare. I really think that they will. I'm convinced that they will. And I have an example sitting at the back of the room there, Jacques Shaouli, who, when I met him something like in 2003, through a common friend who said, you have to meet this guy, he's waging a fantastic battle. And I met Jacques in Montreal, and I told him, well, I was familiar with the people that he was trying to confront, because I wrote a book many years ago where I had a chapter on how poor the Canadian healthcare system was, and my book publisher sent me to Canada for a tour, a media tour, and every single time they said, how dare you criticize the best system in the world, you who come from Switzerland, how dare you? It was, some said it politely, some did it more impolitely, but the impression I had was that it was something really sacred. And when Jacques Shaouli, I found out that this fellow doctor was trying to fight it, I said, well, I really have to meet him. And my big surprise was that I said, well, you have lawyers, a team, how are you doing this constitutional battle? He said, well, me, and I talked a patient into doing this with me. I said, this is heroic, two people to fight one of the biggest and most powerful mammoths in the socialized healthcare. It's really quixotic. And I must say that Jacques almost convinced me, because he was certain that he was going to win the battle, he almost convinced me that he would. But I don't want to anticipate. He'll tell you whether he did or not later on this evening. And I look forward to hearing from the rest of his story, and you'll certainly enjoy it too. So this is, to end up, I think that meetings like this one, okay, you meet people who think like you, who speak like you, who you know that what you're saying is not going to surprise them because they know that everything that you've said, and they practiced it. But I find that these meetings are important because I invariably, when I walk out, I say, well, nobody learned anything from anything that I said, but that's not important. I'm an egoist. I got a lot from what I heard. So that's very important to me. It gives me strength in spite of the fact that it's 2 a.m. almost. I survived in Switzerland, the jet lag. It gives me energy, and it gives me above all optimism.